Hello everyone and welcome to my video tutorial on the future tense in French. The future tense is broken into two separate tenses, the near future and the simple future. So I'm going to be talking you through both of those types of tenses. So firstly, just to run through the structure of the tutorial, we'll first be looking at identifying the differences between the two tenses. Then we'll be moving on to the formation of the future and the near future and the simple future. And lastly, there'll be the opportunity to engage in an activity and exercise to practice and consolidate the two tenses together. In terms of who it's for, it's for pupils that know very little about these two tenses, but it can also be pupils of French that have already studied both the near future and the simple future, but want a little bit of revision or a recap of those tenses and a chance to practice those with some feedback given by myself. So I will also be using my pen and my graphics tablet, and you will see when you get the opportunity to pause the video, a pause sign in the bottom left hand corner of your screen, which indicates that you can pause the video, do the activity, and then unpause for the feedback of the activity. So we're actually what we're looking to achieve by the end of this tutorial. Well, basically it's looking at both the near future and the simple future tenses, giving you confidence to form those tenses for your writing and if you want to use them in your speaking as well. So just an activity to start. I will let you do this in a minute. I'm just going to run through the instructions. So as you can see, you've got 5 sentences A to E in French, which are either in the near future, NF, or the simple future, SF. So if you've never done the future tense before, I'd like you to just have a go and see if you can have an educated guess to see which ones you think are in the near future and the simple future. And obviously, if you've done them, it's a case of looking out for those key things that tell you whether it's one or the other. Just a chance to shine, a more challenging extra task. If you have done the future before, can you remember any verbs that have irregular structures in the simple future? Okay, so off you go, and I will be back in a second. Right, welcome back. So we're just going to run through this task for you. I'm just going to put my pen on. So we're going to run through it, and I'm just going to write some notes down here of sort of key things to look out for when recognising both tenses. So the first sentence is Je vais jouer au foot demain. So this one's actually in the near future. And the reason is what we're looking out for that verb aller, the conjugated version of the verb aller. So vais comes from aller, and also here you've got an infinitive. Okay, so if we see the verb aller in there conjugated, it's generally going to be the near future tense, and also we're also looking out for an infinitive. If we see a full infinitive with an er, ir, or re, that also is going to mean it's the near future. So the sentence means I'm going to play football tomorrow. B. Nous allons regarder un film ce week-end. So, have we got any of these elements here? Yes, we do. We've got the verb aller here, conjugated with nous. And also we've got this infinitive here. So this one is also the near future tense, and it means we are going to watch a film this weekend. Si, j'habiterai en France pendant un an. Now, here we don't have the verb aller. We're not seeing avant, allons, aller. But what we are seeing, we're seeing infinitive, but we're seeing an ending on that infinitive. Okay, and this is how we recognise the simple future. So if we see an infinitive plus an ending, then this is going to be the simple future. So it's not on its own, it's got this ending AI attached to it, and it means I will live in France for a year. So instead of I'm going to, the simple future is will, which we're going to look at in a minute. So D, Sophie ne va pas aller au Canada cette année. So Sophie is our subject, so we looking for the verb structure. The verb structure's here. It is in the negative, but that doesn't affect too much because we can still see the verb aller here. So it's got the verb aller and also it's got an infinitive, aller again. So we know we've got the verb aller and an infinitive, so it must be the near future tense. And it's Sophie is not going to go to Canada this year. And the last one, D, demain, elle fera ses devoirs à la maison. So we're looking here, we're finding the verb structure, which is here. It's two parts, which already indicates it's probably going to be this simple future, because we don't have the three parts. And for this one, it's a little bit strange. It's actually an irregular verb. So it comes from the verb faire, but it's got an irregular stem, and it's fer plus our endings here. So it's a little bit more tricky to identify, but it is the simple future here. So that's the end of that task, and we're now going to move on to looking at how we form both tenses. So firstly, the near future tense. So when do we actually use it in English? If we're thinking of the near future in English, what we're always thinking of is we're thinking of going to. Okay, I'm going to, we are going to, they are going to, plus the verb that you're actually going to do. So I'm going to watch a film tomorrow, or she is going to play basketball on the weekend. So if we hear this going to, we know that it's the near future in English. If we're looking at it how we form it in French, the formula for that is the verb aller, but it needs to be conjugated. So we can't just say je allais, it needs to be je vais, or tu vas, or nous allons, plus the infinitive of the verb that you're going to do. So it's really important for this tense that we know the verb aller. And here's the verb aller: je vais, tu vas, il va, elle va, nous allons, vous allez, ils vont, and elles vont. So it's really important that we know that, because that's going to be part of the verb. So once we've put that in, then we're going to just put our infinitive that we'd like to do. So for example, we've got here je vais écouter de la musique, which we've taken our verb aller and we've added our infinitive here. So I'm going to listen to music. And often a mistake that people make is they want to conjugate that that infinitive, that green part of the verb. So they put je vais, which is correct, I'm going to, and then they're going to conjugate this with the je, which is incorrect. Je vais écoute, no. We need to follow the rules. So je vais écouter with the er on the end, and that would then mean I'm going to listen to music or to the radio or whatever it might be. So I'm going to listen to music. Another example would be nous allons regarder. So again, the only thing that's going to change here is the allons. Okay, that bit is still the infinitive form, but it's a different infinitive because it's to watch. So it's we are going to watch a film. And lastly, if we've got the negative, I'll just basically explain the negative. If we're using ne and pas with the near future tense, what's going to go in here is the verb aller, the conjugated form of that. Okay, it doesn't go after the infinitive. So elle ne here vont pas. So it sandwiches. It goes in between, on either side of the middle part, the aller part, and then we're still with our infinitive here. So it would be they are not going to read a book. So just a quick recap, the formula of it is aller plus the infinitive. We need to choose our correct version of aller, depending on who we're talking about. And then we need to put an infinitive, er, ir, or re verb after that. Now moving on to the simple future, the future tense. Future tense means pretty much the same thing. It's talking about an event that will happen in the future. However, in English we distinguish between the two by using will instead of going to. That's the only difference. In terms of meaning, there's not a huge difference. Some people would say that we'd use the simple future, the will future, if it's a bit more distant, and if we're writing in a more formal way. And we'd use the near future, that I'm going to, for something that's a little bit more recent, that's closer to the present time. So this weekend I'm going to play football. But you can generally use both of these tenses interchangeably and it will still work. And it's the same that applies in French. So how do we actually form the simple future tense? So what we do is to form the simple future, we keep the infinitive, we find a verb that we want, and we keep that whole infinitive. We do not remove the IR, ER and RE. That's really important to remember. So if we look at this example down here, je jouerai, we've actually still got that ER on the verb. And then we attach to the infinitive an ending, and these are our endings here. A-I-A-S-A, O-N-S-E-Z-O-N-T. And what you might notice is these endings are very familiar because they're almost the exact conjugations of the verb avoir. So this is a way of remembering the future tense uses avoir as the endings pretty much. The only main difference here is that the verb avoir usually has avant and avait here, and we actually don't use them for the endings. So it's just these endings here. We take an example here, je jouerai au foot, I will play football. We can take another verb, let's say manger, which is to eat, and we want to say we will eat. Well, we change the pronoun to this one here, so it's going to be nous. We take our full infinitive here and put that down. We do not take the ER off, and then we add our correct ending, which is ONS here. Nous mangerons. You can hear the difference between the present and the future would be nous mangeons and nous mangerons. So that euron, as a speaker, would imply that it's in the future tense. So just a quick recap up here of the infinitive. We take the we take the full infinitive of the verb, and we add our future endings here, which is these ones listed below. Remember, you can just pause it or go back to these slides when doing an exercise or an activity if you forget some of those endings. Okay, so attention, we do need to be quite careful with this tense because there are some, like all tenses and verbs in French, there are unfortunately some irregularities. So some verbs that don't quite follow those rules. And what it is with the future tense, it's not, if we go back to this, it's not these endings that are going to change. These endings are always going to be the same, regardless of whether it's a regular or an irregular verb. What's going to change is the infinitive. The first part, this part, is going to be slightly different for irregular verbs. And this part we also call, it's also called the stem. Okay, the stem of the verb, because a stem is a part of a verb that doesn't yet have an ending on it. So if we go back to our irregular verbs, so these verbs, there's more than this, but these are just some of the key main verbs that don't quite follow the rules, that have their own stem. So I'm just going to write a list of those down and then give you some examples in the notes section below. So avoir is to have, and instead of being taking the whole infinitive and adding an ending on there, what the stem's going to be is AUR plus your endings. Aller to go is going to be IR plus endings. Être to be is going to be SER plus endings. Faire to do is FER plus endings. Pouvoir is to be able to, is pour with two R's plus endings. And voir, to see, is VERR plus endings. And what do I mean by plus endings? Well, we still actually need to put our AI, ASA, etc. on the end of this, depending on the subject that we're using. So if I wanted to say she will go, we find our verb to go. Now it's not elle allera, because that would be regular and it's an irregular verb. So it's still going to be elle. And instead of aller, we're going to take this here, this stem here, IR, and we're going to add the ending, which are endings I'll just write here, just to remind you, AIASA, ONS, EZONT. It's the third one down, it's A. So it's elle ira au supermarché, au stade, whatever it might be. Okay, now one thing I didn't explain, there is slight exception with regular verbs or RE verbs. When we're using RE verbs, for example, vendre, we do actually get rid of the E, okay? We don't keep the whole RE. Just because otherwise we'd have two vowels next to each other. So I will sell would be je vendrai, like that. We do get rid of that E. So just another example of these irregular ones. If we take the verb faire and we wanted to say they or my friends will do. So my friends, okay, sorry, my friends, mes amis. And then we're taking the irregular stem here, fer. And then we're remembering our endings here, and they're not going to change even if it's irregular. Now we're thinking my friends, well that's they, isn't it? It's my friends, they go to the shop, my friends go to the shop, same thing. So it's they, so it's the ONT ending, and it will be feront, like that. Mes amis feront, whatever you want to say. So that is just a brief outline of some of the main irregular stems for the simple future tense. Right, so this is a chance for you to practice and consolidate your learning on the near future and the simple future tense. I'll just quickly go through the instructions of the task. So it says rewrite the sentences filling in the blanks with the correct conjugation. So we've got an example here. So we've already got the pronoun done for you. So je needs to be conjugated with the verb regarder. It's an ER verb, and this one's regular. It's not on the irregular list. So just so you know, this activity will only include irregular verbs from the past slide. I won't include anything that I haven't explained in this tutorial. So, and also we need to just look at in here, in red or in brackets here, what tense it wants you to put it in. So this is the simple future, this one. So we're going to take the full, reminding yourself of how we do that, we take the full infinitive and we add our ending which matches the subject. So AI for this one. Je regarderai un film. I will watch a film. Okay, so that's the example done for you. It's now your chance to go away and have a go at these 8 gaps. And if you want something extra to do, you can have a go at translating those into English as well. So now it's time to pause the video, and I will be back to correct after. Right, welcome back. So we're just going to go through, give you some feedback and go through the answers on this activity. So the first one, let's get cracking. Number 1, je. The verb is jouer, which is an ER verb. It's a regular verb, so it's going to follow the regular structure, and we want it to be in the near future. So for the near future, we're going to use the verb aller, but we need to conjugate it, so it's je vais. Then we're going to take this whole infinitive, and we're just going to place that down there like that. Je vais jouer de la guitare. I'm going to play the guitar. Numéro 2. So our pronoun has changed. It's now elle, so we're going to have, it's going to change how this verb works. And we're looking at our infinitive. It's écouter, which is an ER verb, which is a regular verb. So, but this time it's going to be in the simple future. So just reminding us, we're not putting the verb aller in. It's only going to be one word here, not 2. So we're going to take our whole infinitive, écouter, like that. And we're going to add the appropriate ending, which is a. Elle écoutera de la musique. She will listen to some music. Numéro 3 is also in the simple future tense. And the verb here is perdre, which is to lose. And the subject is nous. So we're taking the full infinitive. But be careful with this one. We do actually remove that E. So we're just left with that. And then we add our correct endings on, which is ONS. So perdrons le rythme. We will lose the rhythm. Numéro 4, vous something finir la chanson. Simple future again. The verb is IR. It's a normal regular verb. So we're going to put in our whole infinitive. It's not quite done. We have to put in our ending. The ending for this one is EZ. So finirez, pronounced finirez. Vous finirez la chanson. You will finish the song. Now this one's a negative one, and it's a near future one. We did go through that in an earlier slide. And the verb here is vendre, to sell. Subject is they, ils. So we first need our verb avoir, but remember this is negative. So if let's do the positive structure first. Il vend, vendre. So we've got our aller verb here, and we've got our infinitive here. But we now want to make it negative, and as I explained earlier, the ne and the pas, they go between the aller part. So it's going to be ils ne vont pas vendre la piano, and it's a question, so the intonation goes up at the end. Ils ne vont pas vendre la piano, which means they are not going to sell. Are they not going to sell the piano? Numéro 6, tu, and we've got, be careful with this one because it's irregular, and this one is as well. So it's tu, and it's a simple future. So our simple future stem of this irregular verb is fer, and we need to add our endings onto this. So tu, our endings for that is as. So tu feras de la salade, meaning you will do or you will make some salad. Nous is our subject for number 7, and the verbs perdre in the near future. So nous allons. Okay, so it's the verb avoir there, and we take our infinitive, and we get nous allons perdre ton cahier d'exercice. We are going to lose your exercise book. And the last one is aller, which is also an irregular one, and we want it in the simple future here. So simple future is going to just be one word here, and we know from earlier that our irregular stem is ir, but we're still missing our ending. It's they, so our ending is ont, iront. So ils iront au collège à pied, which means they, group of boys, they will go to school by foot, or they will walk to school. Okay, so that is the end of this tutorial and the exercise. I hope it's helped you in understanding the differences and how we form and apply those two tenses. And yeah, so thank you, and I shall see you in another tutorial.